Hi everyone. Let's take a look at adding people to your course. I'm going to go into one of my sandbox courses just to demonstrate how this works. On the left hand side there is a people tab, which I highly recommend leaving open for students to see because it gives them access to the messaging features to message you and other students in the class. On this page you should see a plus people. You'll also see a plus group set. That's where you can add and make groups that can be used throughout the course when assigning things, etc. That's a little bit more advanced and I'll get into that in another video. But in the plus people tab, you have the ability to add users that are part of Canvas by either their email address, their login ID, or the SIS ID. Once you add them, and I'm going to use as an example, I find the email address is really good as long as you know the full email address. It does get a little bit tricky at times. It doesn't always find the person, and I find that usually is the case if they've never actually logged into Canvas. So a lot of times with students, I tend to go to their login ID and use something like their Warrior ID. That's the same for both the login and the SIS ID. There may be some users that are not actually students, they're not actually faculty, they're either staff or from outside the school that are mentoring and things that will be using a login ID that is perhaps their personal email address. So keep that in mind if you've got some unique users that you're adding. But if I add using the login ID, I can select a role. A lot of these things are roles that have been created by Canvas. There's a few special roles that we have created. For example, you can add them as a teacher or a mentor. Those are pretty much the exact same role. They can do the same things. It's used in our grad program, for example, to have another person that is mentoring and actually grading individual students. We have the tutor and the tutor assistant. These roles are very similar. The tutor is pretty much just a student. They don't have any special privileges. They'll show up, just like any other student would. However, you're adding them and it's just a way to distinguish that they're not really a student in the class. There is also a designer, an observer, and a special observer. These are a little bit more unique. I use the special observer to assign people that I'll use the example in one of our band courses. We have some people that are joining and playing along with the band from outside the student body. So they're not really a student. They're just there to kind of observe and see the announcements, etc. Most of the time, I think people are going to be adding guest teachers, or they are going to be adding either a tutor or perhaps a TA. Keep in mind the TA can see the gradebook. There's no way for them to be able to provide feedback without actually being able to see student grades. So that might be something to consider before you go in there. We can add some different roles, but there are some permissions that we can't really mix and match. If a student is able to give feedback and see, if someone's able to see student submissions, they're going to be able to see the grade. There's no way to say like, oh, you can give feedback, but you can't see the grade. And if you can see the grade, you can see all the grades. So keep that in mind. Once you add the email address or the login ID and you pick the role for that person, go ahead and click on the next button and it should show you a green check mark telling you who this is, and you can then click the add users. If you get an orange box that says it couldn't find it, I'd recommend checking to make sure that you had the correct email address, the full name, etc. B, trying to use their Warrior ID number, or if it is a special case, reach out to me in order to have those people added to your course and given a Canvas account if needed. That's especially going to be true for staff. We have a whole way of adding theirs so that they will be in Canvas even though they're not teaching a course and not taking a course. So hopefully that helps. Once you add these users, you'll be able to see them on the People tab. You'll be able to see their role You can filter by roles once you have someone assigned. I'm not 100% sure that teachers are able to assign all of these roles. Some of them may have to be assigned by an administrator. Hopefully that helps you understand the adding a guest account or adding a student or having someone who audits a course. You can give them a role so that you can distinguish them and they can be part of that course.